like to know exactly what you mean when you're saying you're following the 295 in the FAR. Is that 295 an average of the two towers? Is the tallest one 295 plus mechanicals? How high is the shorter one? And when you're talking about measuring height, not from the top of the pedestal, but from the ground, that we all want to make sure. So all of the height maths here to understand. We've seen many of these images before about contextuality, and I don't need to be glib, but if I offered you an apple, a pair of Dorothy's shoes from The Wizard of Oz, and a red milk carton, the only thing they have connected is that they're all red. But that doesn't mean that materiality connected is anything. You wouldn't group them. So looking at the building where you said the colors match the other side of Baxter Street does not make anything contextual or feel like Chinatown. It looks like the Brooklyn jail in a different color. So, I mean,
okay, let's pause there. I think I probably have more questions, but let's give the architects a chance to answer. So, Lon, do you want to start with the ULURP, and then we can talk about the question about materiality?
So in terms of the ULURP envelope and the points of agreement that have been agreed upon, everything we do is within that envelope. 295 feet for the building height plus 40 feet of mechanical is the maximum we are allowed to go. That is the height of our tallest piece. From that taller piece, when we step down, we're stepping down about 30 feet down. So we have been working really hard in accommodating the program, accommodating the mechanical requirements to be able to carve the building down. We are absolutely under the ULURP envelope. We're obviously going to go through a very rigorous approval process that includes Public Design Commission, but also the Department of Building. They are checking every number against what was approved in ULURP. In November, when we submit to the Public Design Commission, we are required to submit elevations with numbers and measurements, so that document will also be available publicly to you. So that was, I think, the first part of the question. The second part of the question, in terms of contextuality, is when we did our proposal design, we had focused our attention towards relating to civic buildings, so the other 40 square buildings. We have heard since then, through the peer review comments and other comments that have come to us, that there is a strong desire for the community for us to start looking at materials that relate to Chinatown, a scale of articulation that relates to Chinatown. We did not show you that material today because it's under development right now. We're not ready to come to you with that material. We will come to you with that in September. So what you saw today was really a question of the civic design. We have not yet incorporated the Chinatown fabric in there. I'm going to ignore, I think the lady had a question first, and then I think we have the gentleman.
All right, we'll start first with the woman in the third row. Go ahead. Can we bring a microphone over here?
I don't know if we're supposed to introduce ourselves, but I'm Danielle Gerard. I'm a senior staff attorney in children's rights, a member of the Jails Action Coalition. We all advocate on behalf of young adults on Rikers. And so I was very pleased to see that you've incorporated programming, education, recreation, access to outdoors spaces for support agencies, and increased access to mental health care. So I have two questions. One is, how are the young adults and the other incarcerated persons going to get from, for example, the day room or their cells to be able to get the mental health care that they need? As you know, over half of people on Rikers have mental health conditions. And the other question I have is, there's this room on Rikers that isn't used, but it's called the Peace Room, and it has instruction in trades, for example, woodworking, automotive, and I would love to hear about what provision is being made for that in the Manhattan jail. And thank you for a great presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. Aman, can you speak to, kind of, from the design perspective, the circulation of how people will get to the healthcare access? And then we also have a representative here from the Department of Corrections who could speak to your question about programming.
So in terms of healthcare, that's provided at multiple levels, not physically, but Every housing space has direct access to medical facility, even the Gen Pop. In the therapeutic, there is an increased access. There's clinician staff available at every day space. In addition, there is an entire floor that is dedicated to medical services, includes infirmary, includes dental procedures, a whole host that is unique to the Burmese Jails program. So similar to the 3 sister projects, Manhattan will include that. We also include vocational training within the facility, so things like woodworking, automotive workshops are also included. DOC answer list.
I think you did a great job. My name is Alex Maldonado, and I'm from the Department of Correction. These buildings increase access to medical and mental health care exponentially compared to what is available on Rikers Island. So we're really happy about that. In terms of movement, individuals will be escorted, but again, like Iman said, on every single housing area, there are interview rooms, counseling rooms, multi-purpose rooms. On every single floor, there are exam rooms, interview rooms, counseling rooms, so people do not have to go far to receive the services. We will have healthcare providers, social service providers coming into the building, up to the housing areas to talk to our individuals in custody and provide them with the services that they need. In terms of the Peace Center, which we do use, vocational training is on the floor. We're still in the design development phase, but we have vocational training programming space dedicated for these different types of trades, as well as educational spaces, classrooms that can be used, and we're trying to plan for flexibility, right? Because what is important today to some of our individuals in custody to learn different types of trades, in the future we can use those spaces for maybe something else that becomes more prevalent, right? Coding was never a thing before, but now maybe we want to think about building computer classrooms and things like that. So again, maintaining flexibility in these spaces is really important to provide those programming and services.
Thank you so much, Alex. All right, next question is over here with the gentleman in the blazer, and then we'll come over here to the gentleman in the tank top.
So, this building is magnificent. The public buildings of the state projects the majesty of the state. And indeed, we're in the municipal area. Courtrooms, this building projects that. How can an architect, this is I want to get into the mind of the architect, how could you take on a mandate that in good conscience you're going to fail at? A prison symbolizes the failure of the state. So, now, contextuality, you can put as many paint jobs or whatever up on the prison. In my business, that's called putting lipstick on a pig. How could you, in good conscience, accept this mandate? Because you're never going to be able to match this magnificence unless you glorify crime. So that's the first question. The second question I have is this. In Grenfell in London, 70 people lost their lives. Never there was a fire. 70 people. It was a 24-story building. They weren't locked up in jails. How on earth can any architect design a jail in a high-rise building where you know if there was a fire, you're not getting those guys out in time? Will you be able to sleep at night in good conscience with the deaths of those inmates should there be a fire? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, and I appreciate the passion with which you're approaching those questions. Some of them are getting a little bit personal, so I'm not going to ask the architects to talk about their conscience. The city has decided to move forward with this program. The people up here are working professionals. I hear you. I hear you. However, I'd love everyone to speak to.
Your answer is the city hasn't.
However, our architects are happy to answer your question about the vertical design of the building and the evacuation.
Have they ever designed a skyscraper jail in an urban area? And if they have designed, has it been stress tested for a fire?
Yes. So, we as the architects are passionate about this project. We think we have a duty as a profession to create a better environment for people who go through this system. We're in New York City architects. Grenfell was a building material problem. They installed a flammable material into the facade, which is what killed those people. That material is not specified in any of our projects throughout the world. In terms of life safety for this project, we have done tall justice facilities. They're safe. There's smoke evacuation plans. There's evacuation plans for the occupants. Nobody is going to be harmed in this building. We have the best fire engineers and consultants working on the project, smoke control, evacuation control. There are different levels of events. This will be a very safe building that the New York City Building Department has already approved for our building in Brooklyn. The building in Brooklyn, is a public record, is 5 feet taller than this building, according to the Brooklyn New York.
All right, thank you, Ken. We have a question. I think the next time that I saw up was over here, the woman in the green colored tank top.
Hi, it's a very quick comment that I just want you to consider when it comes to semantics. The word I've kept hearing was normalize.
Yes.
There is absolutely nothing normal about incarceration.
Say that.
I need you to understand that the word humanize is the proper word. So I really urge you as a team, I appreciate all that you're doing, but I think you really need to pay attention to how you're speaking to the community about this
Right.
space. Do not use the word normalize, use the word humanize.
Okay.
Thank you.
Noted. Thank you so much for your comment. Okay, we have a gentleman over here in a white shirt, and then we'll go to the woman on his left, right, left.
Thank you. Reverend Jim Sheen, United States of New York. Every so often in the newspaper, we hear about guards and makers, officers and makers being so stressed out they do crazy things. Human nature being what it is, that can happen to any of us. Will there be a complete retraining of the officers coming to the new facility? And the second question I have is, reference was made to a chapel in the new facility. How many chapels and what is the accessibility that inmates will get?
Okay, thank you.
Great question.
You want to go first? Okay, we'll have Alex speak first.
Yes, the plan is to certainly train every single staff member who's entering all of our new facilities. But what I will say is that our training program is constantly evolving to adapt to progressive corrections and also including wellness opportunities for our staff members, right? Because again, the opportunity to snap could happen to any single one of us. But we want to make sure that everybody is treated with dignity and respect, our detainees as well as our staff members. So these buildings have wellness spaces for our staff, there are training spaces for our staff, as well as multi-faith, non-denominational spaces. Yeah, thank you, I apologize. Spaces for our staff members as well as our individuals in custody. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Okay, and then the next question was for Alice over here.
Hi, Alice.
Wait for the microphone. Oh, I can hear you, but some of the folks may not be able to.
My name is Alice Lang. I'm an architect. I also serve on Community Board 1, and I also served on the peer review committee. I was glad it was mentioned. I wasn't sure it was up on the board as a part of the review of this project, but I'm curious, and thank you all, as to when the assessments that were poured over by this peer review committee, including myself, are going to be shown to the public specifically, and how that's timed in terms of PDC's review. Will the public see it? Will they have an opportunity? Of course, at the time, they were every plan and section and elevation systematically presented, much more than we're seeing tonight. I'm just curious how that gets incorporated into the public sphere. Thanks.
Sure. Are you asking, sorry Alice, you're asking when the comments that the peer review made are going to be incorporated into the design and that's going to be shown, like reflected back in the design yourself?
Right, I see some, I see it's massive, but I'm just curious, both the comments themselves, if ever, are made public, and two, actually the design itself, how that gets reflected. I thought after 4 months we might see some a little bit more tonight, but I understand if not yet ready, but when will that be ready, and how will the public
Community Board did submit a FOIL request for those. I checked in with the DDC legal team. We think those should be ready to be shared back out in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So check back in if you haven't gotten them by then, and we'll see where that's at. And then I will let Amon and Ken speak to the process of incorporating that feedback, and then we're coming back to the community next.
So, like today's meeting, we're going to be noting every comment that is made. We're going to be providing written responses to every comment that is made. When we come back to you next time, and in subsequent community meetings, we're going to be showing you data analyzed of comments made, how many comments made, what were the most concerning aspects to the community, where most folks felt there was work that was needed to be done, and we're going to show you how the design responded to that with the comments called out and our response to that, to those comments. So we're going to do that over the next 4 workshops.
Okay, so many hands. I think the woman over here in the white shirt, 3rd row back. Is that kind of next?
Yeah. Can you make sure you get people in the back?
I will.
Oh, thank you. So the one question that I do have, as somebody who's worked at Rikers Island before, oftentimes in the Rikers Island building, the Department of Correction office has no blind spots where they can take individuals who are incarcerated and torture them and beat them, oftentimes rape them. And I have witnessed these things, reported to the Department of Corrections plenty of times the Department of Corrections took me. So in your new building, remember, as fantastic as it appears, you have to remember who you're handing it over to. But that's, maybe not important to you because your job is so specific. So in your building, are there enough cameras throughout the entire facility that we can witness any abuse that happens in the hands of the Department of Corrections? Because there are plenty of people who have died. And in honor of those people who have been murdered by the DOC, how can we build a building that also watches them? Because when your job is done, the building will still be standing. But those lives, they're also going to be on your hands too.
So we hear you. Yeah, thank you for your question. This process is a collaborative effort between the Department of Correction and the design team. They're working very closely in conjunction with each other so that there's a continuous feedback loop to make sure that we're designing the best building possible. Amon and Ken, do you want to speak to how you're designing for sight lines? Or Alex?
The safety of our individuals in custody as well as the staff is paramount. And so on Rikers Island as well as in these new buildings, we have almost 98% coverage for surveillance video footage. We're also in the process of distributing body-worn cameras to all of our staff members. Every single staff member will have a body-worn camera both on Rikers Island and in the future in these new facilities. So accountability for all will be increased with the video coverage.
No blind spots.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, I want to make sure I'm getting more of the hands in the back. I think there's a gentleman who's wearing a blue shirt, I think, all the way in the back.
Hi, everyone. My name is Henry. I'm an architect in Chinatown. I wanted to talk or ask about the cost of the building. So the proposed budget for the building is about $3.8 million, and that's about roughly 20% more than the cost of the JP Morgan headquarters, which is one of the most state-of-the-art buildings that's been built in New York ever. And that's a much larger building. So currently it's projected to cost this jail $5,400 a square foot and about $3.6 million per bed. So I just want to understand how that happens and what's the process of cost.
Okay, thanks, Henry. We appreciate your question. I'm not able to provide you with a detailed cost comparison to the JP Morgan Chase building. We don't have those numbers. There's a lot of factors that determine the cost of the Borough-based jail facility. This is $3.764 billion, just a minor correction from the 3.8. These numbers have been market tested. This facility went through an active procurement. There's a lot of oversight from the city on this project. The contract was registered with the Comptroller's Office. DOI provides oversight, and it's the Department of Design and Construction's responsibility to make sure that we are building this within that given budget. Thank you very much for your question. I think, oh, there's a gentleman in a white t-shirt who's had his hand up for a little while. Apologies, I wish I knew everybody's name in the room, but.
Sure, thank you. Hi, just a quick question about you said wanting to make. One thing that kind of irked me a little bit was the way you talked about wanting to include the Chinatown cultural aspect as a secondary part of your design after there was your initial design. I reflect that was not part of your initial planning for the current jail. I was wondering, in addition to like our feedback, instead of like just taking comments and like making note of what we're saying, what are you proactively doing to make sure that you're engaging with the community? Are you talking to local business owners? Are you talking to local architects? And how are you actively doing that without us telling you to do those things? Because we've seen before, like talking about Park Row, where our comments from community board meetings have been taken and refuted by the NYPD. What are you doing to make sure that we're holding yourself accountable for that? What are you proactively doing without us having to do a job for you?
Well, first of all, yeah, thanks for your question. Engaging with the community, as we said at the beginning, is a really core component of this project. And one of the things we're doing is we're here tonight, we're coming out, we're showing you the design before it's done, while it's in progress, to get feedback from the local community on this. This is not the first time that we've been doing engagement. The city's been engaging with the community since before 2019. The Department of Design and Construction held design input workshops back in 2020. We held another one a year and a half ago in 2023. Now that we have the architects on board, we're doing this much more rigorously and we have more touch points. This is the first of a series of workshops, so we're holding this one. As I said at the beginning, all of the materials from tonight are going to be posted online, so anyone who wants to have a voice, anyone who wants to provide their feedback has an opportunity to do so. We'll be coming back to you again in the fall. We'll be going to the community board. So there's a lot of touch points that we're building in, and we've aligned those so that they're lined up with the key moments of the design process where the architects here tonight can take that feedback and actually help shape and inform the design. I know you have a follow-up question. Go ahead.
Just really quickly for the designing for, because it's going to take until
Sorry,
2032.
wait for a microphone. Wait.
Given that the construction is going to take until 2032, what design steps have you taken to ensure that you're keeping the vibrations, the community nearby safe from the construction process? What air pollution, noise pollution, you have a lot of elderly housing nearby. What are the design process steps that you've done to mitigate or to ensure that you don't disrupt that?
So again, great question. We're going to be coming back in the fall and having a different kind of meeting, one that's focused entirely on construction, and we'll have the builder part of the design builder team here to present and talk specifically about some of those issues, how we're going to address vibration or air quality through the construction process. So the design team is also, they're here, they're working collaboratively with the builder as they move forward through the design, so these things are being factored in, but the best people to answer that question is the construction team, and we're going to have a separate meeting about that. For tonight, I want to keep the focus on the design. Victor, I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi. My name is Victor Herrero. The community is part of where this jail is being built, but the real community behind this is both DOC's officers and staff and those who have spent time on our design, are currently on our design. That's a real community that's being really impacted. Okay, these are community members just as much as the community members in our area. Okay, so basically a lot of them are dying. That's why Right Design needs to close. Okay, as a person that spent 4 years on Right Design and knowing the atrocities that occur interiorly, okay, I really would like to know where the delays in terms of getting the 2027 mandate met, and why these delays are being impacted as a result when private affordable housing can go up within 2 years. Okay, these are jails that are actually costing lives, okay, and I don't see there should be any reason for any delays, okay. As far as the jails being built and the design, who best to know who should be being treated when there's an individual who's already experienced it, okay. I know the community members have a lot of input, but my question is this, okay, why the delays, one, okay, the implementation of what the body council is supposed to be doing, that a yearly mandate for each correctional officer to take as a CRA exam to meet the qualifications of treatment while individuals are detained? Those two questions on the table, and I really would like to understand why these delays, because 2027 was a mandate, and it just makes no sense that all these community forums and stuff like that, the jail's already down. All it needs to do is be built. That's my question.
Yes, we did complete the dismantle of the former jail facility earlier this year, and we are moving as quickly as we can through the design and construction process. So there is still, as Aman and as Ken said at the beginning of this presentation, even though we're showing you a lot of renderings and there's a lot of design work that's already happened, there's so much more still to go. So the team is moving as quickly as possible. We do look forward to starting construction early next year. And again, we're going to have the construction team out in the fall to talk about what they're doing to get this building built as quickly as possible. I do know you approached me earlier. You do have a specific question about the design that I want to give the architects a chance to answer, which is about the interior cell design and the windows venting. So Aman and Ken, could you talk to us a little bit about the HVAC system? So because the windows are not operable for security purposes, but if the HVAC system goes down, how are we able to properly ventilate those spaces?
So the mechanical systems that are being provided in the building are as good as any that are going to be provided for civic buildings at this point of time. We are also providing backup for all the mechanical systems, so there is a additional capacity always provided for those mechanical systems. So the building is fully operational always.
Yeah, but nothing is better than natural ventilation.
The mechanical system also brings in fresh air. So fresh air is being brought into every space within the building, including the cells. So there's redundancy in the air conditioning systems, in the air handlers, there's redundancy, there's generators, and then there's backup to the generators and hookups in case there's a catastrophic event. So there is always going to be fresh air being pumped into the building.
Okay, how about the yearly mandate? That was the other question. For the correctional qualifications.
Can we get back to you on that one? I think we want to keep the focus on the design for today. Thank you. All right, I've been told I'm overlooking some, Janice, your hand up, we'll come back to you, but I've been told I'm overlooking some hands up in the back. There's one with a blue shirt. Can you get a microphone, please?
My name is Andrea Ju. I'm a physician in the community. I did my residency at NYU, so we rotated through Bellevue, so we had a significant interaction with detainees and people who were incarcerated. I'm just curious, you mentioned that you're gonna have complete medical facilities in this building and rooms in every floor, to meet the medical and psychiatric needs of the detainees. I'm just wondering, what is the square footage set aside for medical, psychiatric? Are you going to have an ICU with CCU? Are you going to have specialist 24-hour care? How many medical staff members are you going to have? How many MDs? How many NPs? How many RNs? How can we make sure that the detainees are getting the care that they should be getting? Because we are separating Rikers, which has a centralized big system, and you're breaking it down into 4 parts. So you're going to have to create 4 redundant medical centers. And do you have the resources and the scale to build something that is appropriate, that can take care of the people who are in there and ensure the safety of the clinicians who are working inside them at the same time? So, you're making spaces for all these wonderful, day rooms, peace rooms, and everything. But we are talking about a really relatively small piece of land. And if you're limited by the height and you're going to make, cuts through the building to, amplify daylight, how much room is there really for the detainees to actually live and walk around and, live a humanized life?
Great, thank you so much for your questions, Andrea. I know that it's a little early in the process to give you exact numbers on the staffing counts. We'll have to have those conversations. These will obviously continue. These questions will keep coming up as the design progresses. But I am going to ask Aman and Ken if they can speak a little bit more about the specifics of the therapeutic care design and the medical facilities that will be available in the facility.
staffing numbers, the operation of that is currently in development. I thought, Alex, you might want to talk about the identifying people in custody right from the start to understand their needs, and therefore identifying which facility is more appropriate for them, and then within the facility, which housing units are more appropriate for them. But I think Alex is probably the best person to talk about that.
Sure, thank you, Iman. Every single individual is, as they enter custody, is evaluated, has a medical and psychiatric evaluation, and then, in the new facilities, we'll be providing a base level of care that is what we enjoy on the outside, right? We can go to our general practitioners, we can go to the eye doctor, we can go to the dentist. We are providing that care directly in the facilities, and that's what we talk about when we're talking about our mainstay facilities. When we talk about our hospital jails, that's a higher level of care, and those are all therapeutic housing for people who have maybe chronic or chronic and continual medical needs, individuals who may be suffering from cancer or need dialysis. So those individuals will be in our Bellevue, Woodhull, and North Central Bronx projects. So when we talk about someone who might need an acute level of care, who needs a significant has a significant medical condition or requires acute medical care, those individuals will still be going to Bellevue or Elmhurst facilities where they get care under the health and hospitals. I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you both. Janet, come and see the floor next, and then before we take more hands from the audience, I do have a few questions that folks have been writing down and passing up that we'll get to. But can we get a microphone over to gentleman in the white shirt? Yeah, go ahead, Jan.
Thank you so much. My name is Jan Lee, Neighbors United below Canal. I just wanted to point out that jails have been in the general area since 1838, just a little walk from here. And you guys are doing the 5th iteration of a jail in this area. And in the time between 1838 and 2025, many people, generations of audiences like this have sat in front of the government, and the government has said, this is going to be the best jail you ever saw. And then the next one happened, and then they said, don't worry, we tore that one down, and this one is going to be the best jail you ever saw. And that went on, and it went on, and it went on, and 12 to 20,000 people from Chinatown protested because they saw those promises fail every single time. So my question is this, to the architect and to Tudor Perini, and congratulations for getting 50% of the $16 billion contract, because one guy got 50% of all of our base jails. So congratulations for that. You must be an excellent salesperson. So I want to ask you this, it's related to sales, because that's what this is. This is the 5th sales pitch that the city has put on this community and to those who are incarcerated. So what makes you the best salesperson in 5 jails? What makes this the sales that we are supposed to believe? This has happened 4 previous times. What makes this sales pitch the sales pitch to end all sales pitches? Because as we have learned, every 40 years, the city tears the jail down and they build one bigger and bigger. And this one is number 5. So congratulations on being salesman number 5. So please, we're waiting to hear from you.
Okay, Jen, we appreciate the question. I'm not going to ask the design team to speak to themselves as salespeople. However, we're happy to talk to some of the factors about this design that do make this a better, safer, and fairer jail than what is currently in place.
It's a fair question. This
Yeah,
is
we're
a sales
happy to answer your question.
I think it's a fair question. I would like to hear why Tudor Perini and Polk think that they are the absolute end-all to this. What is the number one thing? And tell me 3 things that make this the one that's going to end all. Because we're tired of it as a community. People who are incarcerated are tired of being abused. So please, tell us why you, as the builder, is going to put an end to this. What is it? The top 3.
State-of-the-art new facility. Ken, would you like to address this question?
Sure, I'll try to answer that question. For us, it's really important to engage you. You might not believe it, but it is. We see an opportunity to engage the community, and that might not have been done with the previous jails. Personally, my uncle was an activist in prison reform, bringing AIDS treatment into the jails, bringing education into the jails. increasing the amount of, decreasing the amount of recidivism. Personally, it's important to me to be just died of dementia, to carry that mission forward as an architect, to try to transform the experience for the users. The building was defined, the volume was defined by a process and basically inked in 2019. As an architect in New York City, I think we have the responsibility to help close Rikers Island. So we're doing our part as civic architects to create buildings that are in your communities so you don't have to take a bridge and spend a whole day going to visit your family. I'm not supposed to talk about politics, and I'm not going to, but for us as architects, the tools that we have are the tools that we're showing you. We think there's a problem that needs to be solved, and architects, to build a better world, need to help solve those problems. I can't speak to the original tune for people who died in the basement, Doodle area. I can't speak to the ones that were near the Tweed Courthouse, where they were actually, they were children. We just had a history review of all of the previous jails. Originally, the Department of Corrections was housing the homeless and was housing children. They split into two different groups. Anyway, so as architects, what do we control? We're trying to improve people's lives, and that's the most important thing for us.
Thank you.
We do have a few questions that have been submitted on the note cards. One person was saying, I'm curious in particular about the outdoor recreation spaces, and we didn't have renderings of those in this presentation yet tonight, but how do you provide outdoor space in a vertical building, especially if you're not trying to use cages or bars? So I know you guys are still working on some of these designs, which will be shown in the future design workshop, but can you speak a little bit to your design approach for this?
So what is unique about outdoor recreation in the 4 facilities in Manhattan facility is that there is an outdoor recreation space provided with everyday room, which means that potentially people in custody have the autonomy to make the decision to be able to access the outdoor space. They don't have to wait the whole day for the one assigned hour when they get escorted up to the combined outdoor space. So we think that is a really major advantage. There is also combined programs of gymnasiums that are provided, a horticulture program that gives people in custody the ability to work with plants and natural materials. Now, within the outdoor recreation areas themselves, they are going to be really quite tall, at least twice what we think of as a typical floor, so 2-story, double-story height. Which brings in a huge amount of daylight and fresh air into those outdoor recreation spaces. They will not have things like bars in them. We are staying completely going to be far away from that and humanize that experience, make that feel residential rather than institutional. Again, maximize fresh air, maximize daylight, and it is going to be open to the weather. So yes, if it is snowing outside, you're going to be able to experience snow. Yes, if it's raining outside, you're going to be able to experience rain, and outdoor wear will be provided to be able to use those outdoor recreation spaces. But we will come back to you in September to show you some views of the outdoor recreation space.
I have one more question for the note cards, and then we'll go back to taking questions from the audience. There were actually 3 different questions that all related to the community and retail space. It was just shown diagrammatically tonight, but as part of the Mueller agreements, as well as the points of agreement with the community, there is 20,000 square feet combined community and retail space that's being built on the ground floor of this facility. What the community space and how that's going to be programmed will be determined at a future time. The city will be coming back and engaging with the community about the use of those spaces. For the retail space, there is 5,960 square feet of that 20,000 that is designated for Chungpak, who will determine what retail tenants are actually going in there. And that space is being used, it's given back to Chungpak as a replacement for the spaces that were previously part of the now dismantled North Tower. Tammy, I know you have a follow-up question about this, so we're going to bring the microphone over here, and then we'll take a couple more questions from the audience.
Thank you
for saying that, but I'm very discouraged and disappointed about the veracity of the city on this. The points of agreement were quite clear that the community space was 20,000 square feet. Chung Pak has 4 paragraphs in a separate section of the agreement talking about everything related to Chung Pak. And the community space is very, very clear where it talks about this is community space. And at the bottom of it, it says integrate the project into the existing commercial corridor. They were part of the existing commercial corridor. The community space was supposed to be 20,000 square feet of new community space, not minus 5,960. Otherwise, the points of agreement would have said including Chung Pak, but it doesn't, and Chung Pak is detailed in all of their items afterwards. DCAS came to us with their lease and their agreements with the community board, wholly supports Chung Pak. But where we disagree is the promises that the city made to the community, and that was for 20,000 square feet. That does not include Chung Pak, which had its own separate agreements. So I'm distressed to hear at this point, surprise, community is not getting 20,000 square feet. We are getting 5,960 square feet less than that. That is absolutely something that needs to go back to what the city promised. 20,000 square feet of community space. You're building to the top level of your depth and bulk and height and everything. Period. There should be no negotiating, no backsliding, nothing. That's it.
Okay, appreciate your comments. If I can clarify, the points of agreement do specifically say that the 20,000 square feet is for community and commercial space. That language is in there. The points of agreement do not say that Chung Pak is getting 5,960 square feet separate from that space. So the points of agreement are clear. It's for community and commercial space. That's also in alignment with the ULURP document. So the ULURP also very specifically says that it's up to a total of 20,000 square feet that can be used for community and commercial space, and the rest of that square feet is legally needed, is set aside for the jail. I can't debate what is in the ULURP. Perhaps, we've had conversations with DCAS and with DCP about this, because they flagged this for us when it came up in your community board meetings. So we've checked with the other city agencies, and the ULURP is very clear. It's a total of 20,000 square feet.
That did not include Chung Pak originally.
Okay. All right, we have another question in the back. Stand up and then the microphone will come to you.
What additional conditions or contingencies have you not incorporated into this line? So that, in other words, there are other things that have to be explored for the building, such as the subsurface condition. How do you know at this point in time that the design that you presented that community is going to be 100% guaranteed to be as such without these contingencies being considered?
So the subsurface conditions are under consideration. There were a lot of geotechnical and environmental studies that were done during the EIS back in 2019. All of that information was published and is online. As I think the community knows, the team has already done a set of additional subsurface borings. They're currently analyzing the results of that. And the builder part of the design builder team is in constant dialogue with the designer. So this is a collaborative, iterative effort between the designer and the builder to make sure that the design that we're putting forward is one that can be constructed. We are still at the early part of the design. There's a lot of design work left to go, a lot of iteration to go. And I know you have a lot of detailed questions about this. I'm not trying to blow them off. We're going to come back in the fall. The contractor will be here, and we're happy to delve into a lot of these questions about the subsurface conditions.
I want to know, make a 100% guarantee of what you said to everybody in this room regarding physical spaces for the ATVs, community spaces, the width of the White Street Plaza, 125 auxiliary parking. Any of that can be guaranteed today that you will be able to hold to that. I'm asking a simple question, no details.
Yeah, Yeah, the city is very confident that we will be able to build and construct this facility. There are obviously a lot of subsurface conditions and site conditions that need to be worked around with the Department of Design and Construction, other city agencies, through the Community Corporation. They do this with projects all over the city. We are confident that this will be able to be built and move forward. There's a question from up in front here. Can I get a microphone up to the front row? Thank you, Mike Runners. You're doing a great job.
Hi, my name is Rochelle Ocampo from the Charles Young Community Health Center. I'm also a patient of the health center and formerly lived on Mulberry and Bayard in Chinatown, so I'm personally invested in this project. The health center provides medical care to 65,000 New Yorkers every year. Mission is to care for all, regardless of any barrier. And our patients are mostly low-income, non-English speakers and uninsured. Our oldest site is at 125 Walker Street, which many people know is within the Chung Pak building and touches the Chinatown jail site. 10,000 patients get their care from our site every year, particularly pediatrics, dental, eye, and social work services. In 2023, building conditions worsened drastically. Leaks and water damage affected many exam rooms and waiting areas, while construction and dismantling noise from vibrations consistently disrupted care. We had to take the difficult and drastic step to relocate pediatric services at our own cost while trying to fix or cover up the damage. But this reduced our capacity to serve our patients with financial loss and fewer visits. So my ask is if there are any plans to use any part of the 20,000 square feet community space being made available at subsidized or low or no cost to community organizations who were displaced or disrupted by this dismantling or building of the jail. And also what concerned me, follow up to Tammy's question, is you responded to saying up to 20,000 square feet. So are you saying that it could be 10,000 square feet?
No,
Is there a minimum?
We are building 20,000 square feet of community.
And that includes Chung Pak
yes.
ground level, even though Tammy has stated that it's not supposed to be.
If the points of agreement don't list Chung Pak.
Correct. The points of agreement lists 20,000 square feet of community and commercial space, and the ULURP also states that we're permitted to build up to 20,000 square feet of community or commercial uses. That's all that we are permitted to do per the 2019 ULURP agreement. But I appreciate your suggestions on some of the ways that that ground floor space could be used. We have representatives from the city here tonight listening to that. We will absolutely take that back, and that'll be, something that the agencies can consider. The design team that's here tonight is not responsible for programming it, but we will have more conversations in the future about this. Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it. All right, question. Okay, I'm gonna go to the one who's waving her hand, and then we'll go across the aisle to the woman in the white shirt. Thank you both for your patience.
My question is about traffic. Is there a traffic plan for the increase in trucks and equipment on Center and Baxter Street? How many trucks per day are projected? And what routes will avoid school and homes? What limits will be placed on idling, double parking, and division? Has the city done any safety impact studies with the construction? When will those be released? What have you learned about subsurface conditions since demolition began? Are those findings public? Are there any additional costs or schedule contingency that haven't been publicly disclosed? My other question is, I have someone who lives on the building right across that mega site. She has no sunshine, no fresh air, no elevator. She wants me to ask this question for her. How can she be qualified to live in this nice, beautiful detention center? That's it. Thank you.
I appreciate that last question. The first two questions that you asked are all great. We did receive a copy of those questions earlier today, so we will be coming back again in the fall. We're not ready yet to talk about the specifics of the construction process and like how many trucks per day and those truck routes. We will be coming back to you in the fall with a better idea of how to answer some of those questions, and we're going to have the team that's responsible for those the construction work out here to talk to all of you. I know it's getting a little restless in the room. We try to keep side conversations to them. We're just going to be echoes. Okay, across the aisle.
Hi, I'm Patty. My question is directed to the architect. A multi-part question. Where did the architects get this mandate to build?
Could you speak up a little bit? We're getting some noise from upstairs.
Where did the architects get the mandate to build 1,040 cells in the Manhattan site? Who told you to build 1,040?
This was a decision from the city.
So that would be, I would assume, the Department of Corrections.
It was a joint effort between DOC, the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, City Hall, assessed the appropriate number of cells that would need to be built for each one of the four borough-based jail facilities, and then some of those funds they gave assessed based on the different jail numbers.
So your 1,040 number is not a specific number. It can change and go up or down.
No, at this point we are set. The building is quite covered. It will be 1,140.
So then my question becomes, the current and for the last several years now, the incarceration rate has been roughly 6,000 cells. The buildings with each one are roughly 1,000 or so. So you have approximately 4,000 cells that you're planning to build. What is the city planning to do about the remaining 2,000 cells that it is more than likely going to need? Because right now, your numbers are 1,000 per building. So what I'm hearing is that the building needs 2 more giant jail buildings.
Staten Island.
Does corrections have an answer to that?
Yes.
What are you going to do with overflow?
Staten Island.
Decarcerate. The city is currently working on plans to bring those jail numbers down. This is obviously something that is in flux, but it's a work in progress. Okay, we have a representative from the mayor's office who can speak to this.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Matamoros. I'm here from the mayor's office. Mayor Adams has been very clear since he took office that it's important that we have a responsible plan. We did inherit this plan to close Rikers, and we did inherit the plan for the borough-based jails. So 2 years ago, we did do a comprehensive assessment of within the massing and within the ULURP, how many beds can we fit responsibly while also staying true to the principles of the borough-based jails with the programming and the health concerns being addressed. And we did land at that 1040 number at each facility to not increase the height, to maintain all of the services that are promised. There was a follow-up, right? Yeah, you were asking what are we doing for the additional space? Yes.
Because you cannot build something that today is already insufficient. You're wasting time and money.
Absolutely. I hear you loud and clear. This is I know we have answers here and they're related to decarceration. Absolutely. There are efforts I think we have MOPJ here as well. This is going to be an ongoing process citywide. But for the purposes, do you want to speak anything project? But for the purposes of this facility, it will not get bigger. This is the jail that is in
Hi everyone, my name is Q. I'm the Executive Director of Capital Projects at the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice. So as Elizabeth was saying, this Forest Justice program, there was an analysis done by the Mayor de Blasio administration, and the numbers that we're seeing today are a result of a number of different things. COVID, case processing delays, unfortunately, with resources being not on track with the courts. Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, we have a number of different programs that we're also working to expand with alternative incarcerations, supervised release. We want to make sure that people in the city are not spending one extra day in the jails or one day less. So this is the plan that we've been given, and this is the mandate that we're working with. The difference between the 4,000 plus capacity for the borough-based jails and the numbers that you're seeing today is something that the Mayor's Office is working on right now with it's successful.
All right, thanks, Peter. We do have some folks who are going to start coming down the upstairs room. We're going to do closing remarks. I do, gentleman in the blue shirt here has had his hand up for a while. If you have a design question, we want to try to keep the questions focused on design. I think we have time for one more question, and then we'll wrap it up.
So wait a minute.
If you don't mind, you've had a chance to ask questions, but I just want to give the opportunity to see.
Right, but you're giving me answers that are not actually based in reality, because the truth of it is 1,040 per cell is a random, per building, a random number. You are supposed to be held in the jurisdiction in which you were arrested for your crime.
I'm sorry, I appreciate your questions. I do want to give the gentleman a chance to ask his question, and then we're going to
So downtown is notoriously known for sandy, silty fill. Has the design team taken into consideration possibly setting back your excavation line to avoid the need to underpin chunk pack, or taking a look at safer methods of, SOE systems?
That's a really good question. Again, I think the team that's best equipped to answer this, will we have the builder team that will be out here in the fall specifically to answer questions about the subsurface soil conditions and how that's
Has the design team taken that into consideration about setting back?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the advantages of this being a design-build process is that gets accommodated in our design from day one. So the support for excavation, other conditions for the criminal court hazard conditions with chunk pack are absolutely taken, accounted for. Our plans already incorporate them, but I will wait for our partners TBC and ONG to come and speak to that in much greater detail, but the answer is yes.
I guess the current design calls for underpinning, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The current design that you guys were putting up calls for underpinning of the chunk pack.
No, we are not. We are not believing underpinning chunk pack. No, and TBC and ONG will come back and explain our design to you.
You're going to have 2 floors. 2 floors.
We will absolutely answer these questions in more detail when we have the builder team here with us in the fall. So I know there's a lot of other hands up, a lot of other questions. We haven't gotten to everything tonight. We are going to have a recording of tonight's presentation posted online along with all of the slides and the boards that you've seen. So that will start tomorrow. We'll get a link out to everyone. So if you have questions that you didn't get a chance to ask tonight, you can post them online. We will be responding to all of these questions in writing. Iman, do you want to just give a summary, kind of some of the key feedback that you've heard from the community tonight, what the next steps are?
Absolutely, and thank you everybody for taking the time to participate in the discussion today. And as Ken has said, this is actually a really important part of the design process for us. We take every comment very, very seriously, incorporate it into the design, given the parameters of the site, given the parameters of the program, building guidelines and New York City laws that we must abide by. We've heard about contextual relationships. We've heard about interior spaces for people in custody. It is our intention and our commitment to design this facility with dignity and respect in mind for all its users, the users within the building, the surrounding community that use this building. We will come back again. I'll just summarize it to you in late September for our next meeting. We will come back to the community board in November and then have our conceptual design package for the Public Design Commission in November as well. So we look forward to further engagement this year and over the next couple of years. Thank you very much.